What is going on, folks? Will Turbitt here for Demand Truth. Fake Mike, real news. We're keeping it real, as always. No makeup, no warmongering, no big pharma, no evil corporation donors. We're just all real. It's just me here. Anyways, we've been having some really cool guests lately, and guess what? I'm not stopping. I've got a really cool guest returning to the show. It's been a long time, all the way from Europe. Roger Hop, welcome back to the show, brother. It's good to talk to you again.
Thank you. It's nice to see you, Will. It's been a while.
Been a while. I'm glad we can reconnect because you're a busy guy, man. I think at least in Europe, from the people that I can see, you're probably one of the most prolific people, if not the most prolific people in person in Europe, putting out videos. As far as a real true activist that I know, you put out at least one video a day, right? Maybe two, but at least one video a day. And you're not just doing videos from behind your camera, which is good too. At home, you're also out in the streets. Why don't you tell people some about your background, some of the things that you've been up to in your career, and then kind of catch people up to what's been going on in your world up until 2019, I guess.
Well, for all the English-speaking viewers, I have a Dutch channel which is called RHTV Live, where we talk about politics and strategic stuff, and the media over here censors a lot of stuff, so people aren't really aware of what's happening in the world, and I'm lending my voice to that. So I've been.
Well, tell also people a little bit about some of, and yeah, make sure you guys go to RHTV. I'm going to make sure the link's down here so you guys can go check out all of his work too. But besides some of the stuff that you do, what I love what you do from right in your house, because you're showing people videos and articles that are right there that they can research from mainstream news, not making anything crazy up. They can go and research yourself, and you're giving analysis that you're not going to hear anywhere else. But you also go and do some live in-person activism. Could you tell the folks a little bit about some of the highlights? Because you've gotten some real, you've been in the streets with some crazy protests. You've confronted some people. Tell folks about that.
Exactly. Well, I made myself my name because I confronted our prime minister, basically. I asked him what he was doing at the Bilderberg Group and how he goes there. Does he go there as a private person or as a prime minister? And that's how I got my few minutes of fame. And since then, I've been wearing a yellow vest, which is basically something that came over from France. The Dutch people were in solidarity with the French, so they also put on a yellow vest. The police, the first day we walked in the city of Maastricht, the police took away my camera because I was recording an arrest, and some undercover cops, they didn't want to be on cam, so they took away my camera. And
hold on one sec here. I want to ask. Let's get to that story. But before we do, I got two questions to ask you. First, it's the easy one. Where you are in the Netherlands, do you have the right to film police? How is it in Europe in general? Can you film police here in the United States? For the most part, you're allowed to film police no matter what if they're undercover and they really can't tell you to shut it off. So one, can you do that there? And then two, let's back up before you get into the story. And because I think a lot of American people, and especially myself, we're uninformed as to what's going on in Europe. So before you get into the story, one, tell us if you can film cops over there. And two, why don't you tell people what the ideas of the Yellow Vest are, what the theme is? I mean, it's been playing out for over a year now. So can you elaborate on those points, please?
Well, on the first point, anything that's in the public, you can film. So cops or undercover cops. In this case, this undercover cop was basically not abiding the law, because I was recording something, and that's seen as evidence for, for arrest. So, and he destroyed the evidence, you know. So, and what was the second question?
So before you kind of get into the yellow vest, because this is something that I want to talk about. I mean, I want you to kind of take a little bit to break it down, kind of your experiences in the yellow vest. So we can take a little segment here on this, but let's start from the beginning. It's been over a year now that the yellow vests have been protesting, started out in France, and now it's kind of blossom and burgeoning in other parts of Europe, at least to my knowledge. What started the yellow vest protest? Why the yellow vest, and what's the ideas behind this?
Well, first of all, it all started in France because of the high gas prices and this and that. You know, some political things that happened in France, the public was against, and the public, you know, they needed to respond on this. I believe it was also in America where you had the Occupy movement. Remember that? So that's basically how it sprung, you know, and it came over to the Netherlands because over here we have our own things of corruption and you know stuff like that. So yeah, I'm doing my part by keeping the people awake, not letting them fall asleep.
Yeah, would you say that the protests have grown? Have they shrunk? They're still going? What I mean, it's been going on for over a year now. What's the status of the Yellow Vest movement as we go into the beginning of 2020 here?
Over in France, they're still, you know, still battling the battle, but over here in the Netherlands, it's died out. You know, the Dutch people have fallen asleep again. You know, so they're basically saying, you know, those people in politics, they're going to fix it. Well, the people in politics, they're basically screwing up the country. You know, so
they're the ones causing it. Yeah, so it's like telling the axe murderers to take care of all the axe murderers. Oh, great. Yeah, let's go ahead.
Exactly. So it's very hard to you know revolt against the government because people still believe in the government. You know.
Before we get into the Dutch government and what's going on over there, one more question on the Yellow Vest. I know in France for a while there, the general public's opinion of the Yellow Vest was pretty high. Do you think that's still true? What do you think of that in the Netherlands? Do you think that's still the case?
Well, over in France, everything is, you know, public transport and whatever else doesn't work anymore. They're all on strike. The whole country is like, like flat, you know. So nothing is working there anymore. So, and over here in the Netherlands, the Yellow Vests have been demonized. You know, so it's because of that stigma that the Yellow Vest got and what happened in France.
What did they do? What associations or propaganda did they use to demonize you? What was the tactic? What was the smear technique?
Well, over here in the Netherlands, we had a few Yellow Vests that had like a meeting with the Prime Minister, right?
Really?
Yeah. So two of these Yellow Vests, they didn't give a handshake, you know, to the Prime Minister. So the media was like, that's what we need. That's what we need to demonize him. You know, so that's basically what happened.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's
what happened.
That's a trivial thing, yeah.
Yeah, so that's what happened, and yeah.
So
people,
then let's talk about the Prime Minister. You know, most people aren't aware. Why don't we talk about the Prime Minister, and let's talk about what's going on in Dutch politics, what's going on in the Netherlands right now. Last I checked in with you, we had last I checked in with you, we had the pedophiles and the corruption going on. We had the royal family acting goofy and weird as hell, like weird, just weird people. So what's going on? Has anything changed? Is it still the same? What's the state of politics over there? Oh, I think you may have froze up. Okay, hold on. Start over.
Yeah, we're back. We're back.
Okay, start over. What's the state of things over there? What since you last left us? Because just so anybody watching United States knows, where this guy is from is also one of the major areas that the Bilderberg Group was created from. So you have some of the major power centers where the Rothschild family, you had the royal family of England, you had American interests like the Rockefellers, and you had the Dutch royal family. This has been a bad group of people, and we've talked to we've exposed the fact, Roger's been doing it for a long time, longer than I have, that some of these elites out there are also involved in pedophilia way before the Epstein scandal. So this guy has been telling us about stuff before it happens. So sorry about that little interruption. We got digitized there, but yeah, tell people what's going on out there.
Well, I believe the FBI and CIA and all these intelligence agencies are also looking at us. So, you know, sometimes we got a glitch.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah.
Changing the programming.
Exactly. Exactly. But we're still on track, right? Now, the whole Dutch politics is one big corrupt scandal, basically. You know, the ruling party, the VVD, which is the progressive liberals, put it that way. You know, they screwed up the country. You know, they sold out everything and stuff like that. So now people are getting awake to that fact, you know, and people are very angry. And the Dutch government is finding these ways to suppress the Dutch people, you know.
Now, what's going on with the royal family? Any updates on them?
Not really. You know, the king is still tax free. You know, he still doesn't have to pay. So
it's amazing to me as an American that there are even still royal families out there, especially in quote unquote civilized nations. You know, I don't consider nations like the United States and Netherlands, who are in a state of almost perpetual war and do all these horrific war crimes, to be civilized. But I'm just saying that's the today's paradigm anyways. Now, you were telling me a little while back about how there's farmers on strike, or farmers protesting out in the Netherlands. Is that correct? Can you tell folks about that?
Exactly. The Dutch government is making up these rules like carbon emissions and stuff like that. Now, the farmers also have to abide by these new rules, you know. And there are politicians here in the Netherlands that are saying we have to cut the farmers in half, you know. So this is an agrarian country. So the most income we get is from farmers, and now they want to cut all these farmers and get all these foods from other countries like Ukraine, you know, where we had like a deal with, which we said no to, basically.
It's absolutely absurd, right? So we can't grow our own food, but let's be dependent on another country to grow.
Exactly.
Yeah, and one like Ukraine too, right? Not Tibet, who seem like chill people almost all the time. No, not them, right? Because they're not even technically recognized by a country, by the devilish Chi-Com. But I mean, not some cool guys like that. Ukraine, the people that are switching back and forth between Russian and NATO. Europe. Being a puppeteer, you know what I'm saying? That's a horrible place to depend on food from. That's like could be a war zone at any moment. Yeah, let's get our food from there. Absolutely crazy that these people want to break down the life cycle for this other carbon cycle. And people like yourself and me, we've been talking about real environmental issues for a long time. We've been talking about Monsanto. We've been talking about genetically modified things. We've been talking about all this weird stuff they've been doing with
Fukushima,
stuff.
Fukushima, you know?
Yeah, right? Right? But no, they want to cut the way that we eat. And notice that, you know, it doesn't really affect the large businesses, the large, huge multinational conglomerates, you know, that doesn't affect them, right? Because they have all this money and they have all this other stuff. But these regular mom and pop people, you know, they're left to dry. Do you think this is gonna be a movement that's gonna gain any steam?
Well, I hope so, you know, because the farmers, they basically went on strike in, I believe it was November or October, somewhere along those lines, like last year. I still need to get used to that, you know, 2020, it's
Oh yeah.
kind of odd. But still, that was getting real traction, you know, the whole country was behind the farmers. So, and right now, we're not really hearing anything of the farmers standing up anymore because they're talking to the politicians, you know, and
Yep.
the politicians are selling them lies, of course, and I don't know how this is going to play out. You know, it's one big foggy path that we're walking.
Well, if you
Basically,
had to scry through that, if you had to scry through that fog and look into your crystal ball, what do you think the future of the Netherlands is for the next couple of years going into now and after 2020? What do you think the future is politically or just so societally, as a society, pardon me?
well, politically, we don't have much to say anymore because we gave our sovereignty over to Brussels. You know, Brussels has everything to say about the Netherlands. There's this small department somewhere in Brussels, and they have the say of which our parliament has to give the rubber stamp. You know, the yes and the approval, and then you know our parliament is just a shadow cabinet of what's happening in Brussels. You know.
Well, I totally agree. And that is the definition of slavery when you don't have a vote or a say in your own future and you just have to listen to dictates given by your masters who are unaccountable in some foreign country. I mean,
Exactly.
didn't we already deal with this like a couple hundred years ago? Like, what the hell? So that question is a perfect alley-oop to my next question, which is, we've seen Scotland try to Scotland before. We've seen Brexit try to Brexit for a while. Now Scotland's thinking about it again. What's the rest of Europe like? Do you see, I mean, because part of the thing that we've been talking about for years and years and years now is the fact that this European Union is one of the jewels in the crown of this new world order. They've created it literally on record. Members of the Bilderberg Group, Council on Foreign Relations and Trilateral Commission, they brag about it in newspapers. What is the state of the European Union? I see some people trying to secede, but then others, it seems like more nations are joining it. What's the state of the United Nations? It is basically the United Nations, right one below the European Union right now.
Well, the European Union is kind of falling apart, you know, because if you look at Italy, for instance, you had like a three-party parliament where you had two left parties, which was pro-European, and one right party, which is anti-European, and that cabinet fell basically, and those two left parties, they got another left party, which is, you know, the cabinet right now, but that's not really holding because there are provincial politics, you know, provincial voting in Italy this year. So that right party, which is from Salvini, he's getting a lot of traction, you know. So provincial, it's going to be very hard for the left party to have power in Italy, you know. So yeah, Italy wants to get out. France wants to get out. France has Macron, which is basically a Rothschild puppet. You
He was
know,
basically a Rothschild banker, and he
yeah,
literally went to Bilderberg one year. The next year he was, or a year and a half later, he was head of France. So it goes
exactly,
to exactly what we've been talking about for a long time.
exactly. So the public doesn't want Macron anymore. And Spain is also changing in the politics. So
Catalonia. Yeah.
Catalonia, yeah, yeah. So
What's
a
your
lot
take
of
on what's going on in Germany lately? I've been hearing, at least from some people I know in the American news media, they've been talking about that Merkel is kind of losing power over there. Is that true? What's going on in
that's
Germany from your perspective?
that's true. There's this conservative party that rose out of nothing, basically, and it's called Alternative for Germany, the AfD, Alternative für Deutschland, uh, and they're getting a lot of traction. And this is a conservative party that also wants to get out of the EU. So Merkel is losing a lot of ground politically, and Germany is also heading towards a new Germany because Merkel is going to stand down after this term. So they're going to get a new chancellor. So it's very it's like quicksand, It's not stable.
That's
Poland also.
that's a great way of putting it. And I'll just add to that. What we had today, at least as the day of this being recorded, we have what's going on in Iran. And then I'm not sure if you're familiar about what's happening in the state of Virginia here in the United States, but Governor Ralph, so what's going on over there, with the European Union going on, and then what you have going on in Bolivia, Venezuela, like you talked about, things are happening all over the world. Catalonia, the succession's going on. And on top of that, we have the fact that World War III could break out at any time between Iraq, Iran, Israel, Saudi Arabia, the
Exactly.
US, and all these other things. What's going on in Ukraine, all these other things. And then here in the United States, in the state of Virginia, we have, which has been historically a red state and has been getting more purple over the last few years. We have that now the Democrats control the House, the Senate, and the governorship. I'm not a Democrat or Republican. Just for the record, Demand the Truth is nonpartisan, nonviolent, and uses the Socratic method. But the governor out there, Ralph Northam, who dresses in blackface, and it's one thing to talk about abortion, but he talks about keeping babies alive and then killing them afterwards. He has talked about mobilizing the National Guard to confiscate legal guns from gun owners. So right now, we're like in quicksand. I mean, anywhere you look on this chessboard, we see really tough things going on. So it's kind of like I was saying the other day, the best times, the worst of times, though. I do see that people like you are really starting to get through to people. I mean, just by sheer force of your will, just by doing videos all the time, and they still shadow ban you. I know, because you were getting so many views for a while. I was like, damn, I'm jealous. Like, shoot, what the heck? This guy's getting mad views. And because they shut me down, and then you started getting mad views, and I was like, all right, well, at least somebody is. Boom. And then they started shutting you down again. But by sheer force, you're still getting this out. Let's talk about, in this final part right here, let's talk about solutions, and let's talk about some of the things that you're going to be covering on the show, things on your radar, and things that you're looking forward to, things that are the most important for maybe the audience.
Well, solutions. I don't know. I mean, Socrates was a very well-known philosopher, and he was against democracy. Now that's the best that we can come up with. So we need to look out of the box. We need to look at new solutions and stuff like that, and we need to talk about going forward as a country and as a whole, as a people. So what was the second question?
Well, and then the second point was, what what projects do you have coming forward in 2020? What are some of the things you guys are going to be continuing to discuss on your show, and any predictions or anything else you want to say to the people out there?
Well, I'm not very fond of the king, but the king is going to come over here in Maastricht in June.
Really?
Yeah, really. So I'll be there. I'll be there. And
Good. I'm sure you'll have a great question. So we'll be looking forward to that. And I believe it's actually, speaking of Virginia, maybe the official state motto of Virginia. I'm going to just double check, but I'm pretty sure it's Virginia, which is Sic Semper Tyrannis. And let's just double check. Is it Virginia? Yep, it's the motto of Virginia, thus always to tyrants. So that's what America was founded on, standing up to tyrants. And then when tyrants wouldn't back down, well, we send their ass packing back to Britain with their coattails between their legs. So that's what we have to do. Never preemptively violent. Stand up for yourself. Be confident. Be nonviolent. We don't even have to go this way, but we have to take care of tyrants. That's what your birthright is about. So where's the best place for people to find you on all these platforms and follow your work? Because like I said, it's great. We have all these amazing people that do videos and analysis here in the United States. But most of them, including myself, I go outside the box. I talk to people from Pakistan, from the Netherlands. I just had another interview in the Netherlands, Ghana, South Africa.
I saw the interview. It was a good interview, man.
Do you know that guy?
No, I don't know him.
The biggest YouTuber in Netherlands.
Okay.
Yeah, so you have to check him out. But yeah, so it's I always got love for my people in the Netherlands. You guys show me so much love. I love you guys back. But yeah, this guy's the best because he puts out videos damn near every day, sometimes more than one video, and he's always got great topics. I'm gonna make sure that all the info's right here. But for the people that are maybe Braille or people that just like to learn better in an audio type of way, what is the best way for people to find you and connect to your work and share it?
You can find me on Facebook, Rogier Hop, which is basically the Dutch version of Roger.
So how bad do I say your name? Really, really bad, right?
Well, it's okay. It's okay. Don't worry about that. So
that us Americans are very not cultured. Have you seen the movie Idiocracy?
Yeah, I have.
That's basically the way we talk. So,
I know. It's a good movie. Mike Judge is an excellent guy. Beavis and Butthead, it's cool. But
what was
you guys can find me on Facebook. That's where I stream, and that's where the war, the invisible war, as I call it, that's where it transpires. So that's where you can find me. I'll be live streaming in Dutch though, but
Well, Americans need to learn a second language. I mean, you guys tried to colonize us one time, so hopefully that won't happen again. But all jokes aside, I love what you do. I'm going to try to download an app to see if I can correctly pronounce your name, because especially the way you said that, there's no way in hell it's going to happen in less than a few hours. I'm going to have to do some very tedious homework. But thank you so much, man. I'm telling you, this guy is the man. I'm going to put the link to his Facebook right here so you can check him out, because he does great work. And if you see some Americans in there, maybe do an American broadcast here and there, or maybe once a month for us American folks, because this guy does some of the best reporting out there, and we need people in every town, every state, every city, every continent, and we need to start doing this together, non-violently, demanding the truth. My brother, you have a good night. Thank you for joining the show, and take care. I appreciate you making some time for me.
Thank you.
All right, I'll talk to you soon, brother.
Talk to you soon.